So please welcome back to the show, Erin Werley. Welcome, Erin.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. I'm
You
like
know,
jumping up and down.
oh, you're so sweet. And, I kind of want to start, and I think it's fun because we didn't talk much before recording because I want to make the magic part of what's been going on. It's been going on so much in my life lately that when you connected with me the other day, I was like, of course she did. Like, all I've been doing is thinking about her. All I've been doing is thinking, oh, we need to have a third episode. But we hadn't connected. And then I get up in the morning, I go to the Instagram messages, I see that I have one, and it's from you. And I'm thinking, of course. And all these synchronicity things, and today happened again, something before I came here. And it's just, I'm thinking in the car driving, and I'm like, when I meet people like you, like I can connect, I don't even need to warm up and I just know your soul. It's just like this confirmation that our soul tribe is here and we're all connected. We're all one. We're all on this. We all had our hand up and said, let's go. Let's do this earth thing and let's share our gifts. But, knowing your story, and everyone can go back, it's 2021 and 2022 is when we did our first two episodes. And it's coming back to this place of really seeing a full circle moment in both of our growth. And when I see in you, and I think, and I was looking at videos back in 5 years ago, and you're just so cute, just had your babies. And, and I'm listening to you start, trying to be brave about putting out your book and, all these things that you were going through. And to see where you've had blossomed into today is a reflection of me because I'm seeing what you are doing and what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like, okay, I've grown too. Like, I've done the same, not the same, but we've grown. We've made an effort, we've made an intention, we've set a vision, we've put something in action, and we've grown. And to that, I feel like meeting you today, that is for a reason. It's like a confirmation, this feeling of, wow, we do take every day as an important part of our growth and intention. So let's hear the magic that, I mean, it's been 3 years. I've been following you on Instagram and I listen and I read your emails every day. So, and I just am so proud of you. And just to shout out what you're doing and to have this time together in this hour to share your magic, what you've discovered, and then to talk about all these amazing programs that you've created. I mean, you've really come like amazing. I just get so excited for people to hear it. And it's almost like I was saying before we hit record, I don't think I could hear episode one. That was like episode 47. Now I'm almost to 300. So there's a lot of growth there. Thank God.
It's so interesting you were talking about going back and looking at my earliest YouTube videos. This is something that I still remind my clients of. I talk about it in my courses. I talk about it on my social media because when you are getting started, you feel like, "Ooh, I've got to figure out how to do this perfectly." Right? And that stops most people from really diving fully into their soul mission, or it'll stop them from pivoting and adjusting to that next level of their soul mission. But I'm like, go look at my first year of YouTube videos. Just have a peek, and you'll see that like there was no perfect happening at all. I was so much earlier on my journey, but I had to start there. I made a vision board around that time when I started my business. And one of the things I put on my vision board was start before you're ready. Because I had been waiting 8 years to get started. And I've recognized after 8 years of that that I was never going to be ready. So I'm like,
Right.
I'm gonna start before I'm ready. So yeah, I used to wake up at 2 a.m. because my children were so little and that's the only time I could record YouTube videos. I would hop on with my camera, no makeup. I was still wearing my nightgown. And it was like not a cute nightgown either. It was like there's like sheep yawning on my nightgown, a very cartoony look. And like my hair's back and, being a very early mom. It probably hadn't been washed in 5 or 6 days. And I would just talk. And one day I got a wig because I was like, oh, wouldn't this be better
Oh my
if I
gosh.
wore a wig? And so for one video, I threw the wig on at 2 a.m. And I recognized after that, oh, I'm not here to be perfect. I'm not here to need to put the wig on. And what ended up happening is I use that wig story all the time to tell people just don't even bother to try to be somebody you're not. That's not what this is about. Now, the cool thing about just letting yourself be who you really are in the moment and being authentic about it is I can look back now, kind of like you were saying, like it's hard to notice in the moment how much growth is happening within you. But if you have a period you can look back over, it's like, holy cow,
Right.
wow, this, I'm really a different person. It's like everything that I wanted, I created over the last 5 years. I wanted to lose that 50 pounds of baby weight, and it
Wow.
didn't come off when I wanted it to. It came off when I was actually ready to hold that part of my journey, when I stopped waiting to be ready. Like, I'll be ready to go do my thing once the baby weight's gone. When I said, you know what, I'm just going to do it the way I am, all that inner resistance to losing it just dropped away. And it's just so interesting how it unfolds when you actually really, really, really trust your inner guidance, your inner knowing, that intuition, like you were saying about you woke up and I had messaged you. I woke up and I had this very clear knowing in my mind, message Ashley. You haven't talked to her in 2, 3 years. Go. I mean, we've sent like nice little Instagram things back and forth here and there, but like having an actual conversation, no, it's been a few years, and it was just go now, and that's really what I continue to cultivate. Is like when I hear go now, I just sit down and go, um,
Right.
and that makes all the difference.
Oh, that morning I woke up and I looked at that message and I could not wait to respond. And I think I left you a voice message and all the things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Erin, like just the fact that, I'm learning so much and you've taught me so much. I've done my rabbit hole recent Erin work, but like what you're doing, like, you're the trusting and the understanding that when that voice, that God voice, and I want to talk about that because I love your new podcast with Phil. Oh my gosh, he's like evolved. Holy cow.
Yeah.
But that Phil's her husband. But when when that happens and you are like you hear it and the one how many people hear it and don't do anything about it, you know? But it's when you do that and you listen, you take the action, and then there it is. It's like the goosebumps, the my head exploding emoji. But let's talk about because I love okay, so this it's not new, but you've recently since I saw you, you've started a podcast with your husband Phil.
Yeah, well, I'm not currently doing the podcast. That was, so if you go on my YouTube, you'll see it.
Yes.
But that was part of my evolution. It was part of me trusting because I've noticed a lot of the things that I'm led to in my life are to try things that I think that I should do. You know, those things that you have in your mind that it's like, oh, I should do this. If I did this, this would be great. Let me try it. And so I'm often guided to do these things. Now, sometimes they're wins, but sometimes it's like, oh, I had to try this to find out that that's not the right thing. So the podcast was like late 2023, early 2024. But it was a lot of fun. It was so flowy and good when we were doing it. And then the second we were guided to do it, we literally could not. And the second we were guided not to do it anymore, we couldn't record. Like we tried to show up because like we're creators. Creators are gonna create. Like you're gonna
Right.
create whether you're sharing it with the world or not. It's gonna be leaking out of you all over the place. And we tried to show up and continue to do it, and we could not. The guidance just like totally stopped.
Huh,
So,
interesting.
yeah. Mhm.
But I mean, Phil, like, look at who he's become in the last 3 years.
Oh,
Oh,
his inner growth journey has been incredible. Like what I have experienced and what I've seen with clients is that when we as an individual continue to choose our inner growth and our ascension process and just let those that we love be wherever
hmm,
they are instead of needing to like, I'm doing this, you need to do it with me because that's
right.
what I used to do with him. Like, I'm doing this, you've got to do this too. And he didn't want to. And so when I finally surrendered to that and I said, like, okay, I'm going to accept where you are and I'm going to continue growing myself, all of a sudden, that's when he started having tremendous growth, when I took all the pressure off of it. And so that's been so helpful in me leading clients because I'm like, just take the pressure off. And they do. And this magical rearrangement happens for everyone. It's so, so awesome.
Oh, so let's talk about there's an episode he was asking you like the difference between God and your soul. And I really love that question because a lot of times we use that as together or people don't understand how you separate the two. So explain
Well, I think
that.
the first thing, like this is one of my favorite questions, honestly, and I get
It
it
is?
all the time. Yeah, I this question really, really lights me up because the nuance is everything in really understanding how we are designed to operate here on Earth. And I always say there's nothing wrong with any spiritual teachings. Every spiritual teaching is right for someone at some point on their journey. So when I share things like this, it's not to say these other things are wrong. It's just they're right at this point on the journey.
Right.
So another way people like really mix these together and it's like all one thing is the idea of spirit. And the truth is like, yes, there's that non-physical realm that we can call spirit, but we can go deeper in our understanding by understanding there is a highest version of us, and that is God, source within us. That is our highest self. And that is the oneness frequency where there's no separation between anything. Now, in this oneness frequency, there is no need. There is no need at all. This version of us is here to simply be, to experience. So we all have that part of us that simply wants to like lay on the grass and soak up the sun, right? That part of us that just wants to experience. So where is this other drive coming from? Well, it's coming from our higher self. So God's source within us is our highest self. But we also have a higher self, which is our soul. And our soul is as close as you can get to God's source oneness, except now it's not oneness. There is that separation layer. And we all have this bright, beautiful, just insanely wonderful soul that like I had an experience a few weeks ago where I actually Philip was sitting across the room from me and his soul came over to me and like rubbed up against me and it was this
What?
bright, oh it was great. Ashley, it was top two experiences I've ever had. I had one that I was so confused when the first one happened because I was so early on my journey. It took me years to understand it. But this one, I knew exactly what was happening. So I just got to really bask in the joy of it. But I
You need to
felt this,
describe it.
yeah, so it was this bright pink light and it came and it like rubbed up against me and I just felt pure love. And it was just, it's like one of those experiences that sometimes people describe like when they are on substances and stuff because they're using those to connect. But like with with the practices that I do, I can have these kinds of experiences without having to like bring in something from outside of me to create it. But it was very much something that you would experience in that way. And it was like, oh my gosh, it was such a blessing because I've been practicing for the last few years. Everywhere I go to the grocery store, go to a restaurant, I see everyone as light, right? So I practice seeing the light in their third eye shining bright and taking over their entire body. So this is a practice. I'm not always perfect at it, but I've used it to heal judgment because I
Mm.
recognize judgment of others is simply judgment of myself. It's just a mirroring experience. So I have used that to heal judgment. And I realized that all of that practice culminated in seeing Phil's soul and experiencing it in that crystal clear way. And it was incredible. So when it was rubbing up against me, I was able to channel it as well. And I was able to answer questions for him that he has wanted to know the answers to for years. And it was just such an amazing moment. Then I was able, after having that experience, now I've been able to connect in with, before my live calls with clients, connect in with their souls. And that way it's like that level was unlocked within me. And it's just taken everything to a new stratosphere. So anyway, our souls are that. They are this bright, warm light. And they, just like God's source is pure knowing, no doubt, no fear, I know, I trust. So is our soul. It's just our soul has an individual blueprint or purpose that is not exactly the same as anyone else's individual blueprint or purpose. And our soul feels driven by that purpose. So your soul is the part of you, that blueprint within you is the part of you that is here to create new things. And so it's our soul's blueprints, that inner drive to create, that is creating the expansion of the universe, always expanding into more and more and more and creating more. So that's the difference. And once we understand that, we can really make peace with those two parts of us, that we need to spend time in both of these parts. So it's not all about just being all the time. If we just be all the time, our soul's going to feel frustration. But if we're just pushing, pushing, pushing to create all the time, our God self, our source self will feel frustration.
Mm.
So when we give both sides of us time and attention every day, we really start to feel balanced and whole within. So, like, I just love talking about this because when someone actually really receives this, how they begin operating in their life really, really changes. Because, like I said, with spirituality, there's so many different things out there. None of them are wrong or bad, but sometimes we just take in one half and we miss the thing that would actually balance it out, you know? And I
Hmm.
think it's changed my life to understand this.
Yeah. Where do we get our blueprint?
Where do we get it? Um, that is a really, really interesting question. Our blueprint, our soul was created by God Source. And that blueprint was created by God Source. What I've been shown is that the first planets and civilizations that were created did not have blueprints or that individual separation from God's source. They were simply on their planet and they were instant creators, instant manifestors. And so many listening are like, well, that's amazing. Why didn't we get that?
Right?
But what happened? There was no separation, but they were in separate physical vessels. And this got really, really messy. And not everybody, because there's no separation and everyone's you, it's not really a kind energy. It's not really a accepting others as separate energy. And it started like creating something that was not love, that was a mix of other things. And it was really coming from the boredom of instant manifestation.
Hmm.
You came into the physical world to experience, and you think you want instant manifestation. But what that actually ends up creating within someone is boredom. Because if you always get everything you want every single second you ask for it, what is there to experience? How do we grow? How do we be something that matters? And so this was recognized by God's source. And so God's source is always learning and expanding as well. As we in the physical world have physical experience, that is expanding what God's source is. And so God's source recognized, oh, there needs to be a point for the things that the beings that I'm creating, they need a point. And so this idea of blueprints that are missions And these missions can be all different kinds of things. Everyone's is different. Some people have similar ones, some people have very different ones than you. Um, but that was created, and we were one of the first planets or dimensions to experience that. And so, in many ways, Earth has been an experiment around this. Um, other other planets or dimensions that have come after us have actually had it easier because it, God's source had already expanded so much around its knowing. But that's what I've been shown.
Wow. You know, when you think of blueprints, how do you look at timelines and how everything's happening now? I had a past life regression a few months ago and I saw this piano keys. I saw every piano key as a timeline and a part, one of it was like such a good visual for me because I would go to one timeline and I would see myself doing this and I go and then I'd walk to the next piano key and I'd see that and it made me understand, time isn't linear and that our soul every little fractal. So I just wanted to kind of preface it that way, but to take timelines into how our soul is growing and that it's all happening now.
Yeah, I love that so much. So, how I see it, and when I work in the quantum field with light work around it, I see it as a soul star. I see that each of our souls has a soul star, and in the center of the soul star is a crystal. And the crystal is projecting into all of the different lifetimes of our soul simultaneously.
Ah,
And what I see then is that wherever we are conscious, because all the lifetimes are happening at once, and I see timelines a little bit different, so I'll get to that next. But all the
good.
lifetimes of our soul are happening at once. Like we can literally travel to different lifetimes and tap into them. And it's not as if time is not actually linear. We feel like it is, but it's not. And so wherever we are conscious is where our soul is going to be most embodied, which is why it's so powerful to do practices like like meditation or anything that really has you focus your consciousness in the now moment to be present in the now moment, right? Because then you are bringing your soul fully into embodiment in this reality. And so, how I always describe it is it feels to me like I've been sitting here in this chair for the last 20 minutes with you. It feels true. But I actually don't have literal evidence that I didn't just drop in this very second, and it's not just memories of the last 20 minutes that I'm tapping into, because that's like all we actually are sure of in terms of consciousness is this now moment. And I think that's like, to me, that's a powerful thing to recognize is that we aren't our past. Our past does not define us. And so then let's talk about the timelines. I see
Timelines.
the timelines as close to infinite. And when I look at them, I love the piano key analogy because I do. I see them like lines all stacked on top of each other. And I see that every day in every way, we are actually moving up and down through timelines. Now, most days we're not moving too high or too low on, we're not, most days we're not sinking 50 timelines or going up 500 timelines. Most days it's just a little bit of in and out, and there's not a huge amount of difference in the different timelines. But the timelines to me are based on frequency. And so throughout the day, my frequency is not the same. My frequency ebbs and flows throughout the day. Now, one of our jobs is to do our best to feed ourselves the things that will assist us in holding a higher frequency while at the same time accepting the things that feel hard in our life. And the more we do this, the more we actually find balance on the timelines and the less we kind of like have huge swings down and then try to come back up to set point. So for me, I used to fear going into the lower frequencies or the lower timelines. And the reason that I feared it is because I did not know how to navigate those heavy emotions. And so it really, really scared me to be in that. And I said, I have to do the things to keep myself
Mhm.
up here all the time, right? And I think that's such a relatable place on the spiritual journey. I think we've all experienced that. And what I was led to is learning how to not be afraid of the lower timelines. And with the client work I do, that was really, really necessary because it's not just about me, it's about also being able to hold clients through anything heavy they're experiencing. And so I've got into a place where I do not fear going into the lower timelines. Now, what that has done is enabled me to quantum leap into higher timelines. When I was trying to lock myself up here, it was because I was afraid. Once I said, I'm no longer afraid of feeling heavy because I actually have the tools to navigate it in a way that feels good to me, um, then I was able to really move up. And so that is how I see timelines. I see them, we're just constantly ebbing and flowing on them, but there's opportunities to really jump high, to really take a quantum leap. And that happens when we make a choice that is much different than all the choices we've made in the past. So a quantum leap is like, I have an expansive choice in front of me. It scares the crap out of me to think
Mhm.
of saying yes to this. And it, often, almost always, for me, always, but I will say it's not always this way because my clients sometimes have other experiences. But when you are contemplating saying yes to something very, very expansive and next level for you, your whole body will shake. Everything within you starts to shake because you are literally making such a huge quantum leap timeline jump that even though the room that you're in still looks the same and your reality still looks the same, who you are on the inside has just completely transformed. Now, another thing about a quantum leap up to the highest timelines, and I can say from experience, you also have to be able to hold it or you lose it. And I was called to make a huge quantum leap in the beginning of 2023 to expand my business because my business was built um, on talking about spirituality, God's source within us, and then expanded to talk about teaching quantum light work. And I loved it and it was so aligned, and that was me. And then I was called in early 2023 to add teaching business to people with big soul missions. And I went up and I held it, and that was so expansive for me. But I could not hold it. Some things happened with people in my extended family not approving of who I was
Oh,
being on the internet, and I was not prepared to hold myself through that big of an up level. And so I lost it and I came back down. And it's like when we make a big quantum leap, we have to recognize that it takes a little while for the energy to, or for the outside reality to match the energetic swing you have just taken. And if we hold our energy and our belief and our knowing through it, and it's really an identity level knowing this is who I am, this is who I am, this is who I am. So, looking back at 2020 and me posting on YouTube the first time, I had to hold my energy for a good year before I really saw much swinging my way in terms of all the things that I was pouring my heart and soul into. But when I look at that end of 2020, early 2021, I see, holy cow, I literally had held the energy of that quantum leap, that I went from my husband working 80 hours a week as a nurse to the money coming in just from our book was way more than he had made. I had moved through all the fear of creating my first course and selling it, and I had held the energy of all of these things. And it didn't happen right away. I had to continue to show up while I was in that void space of not seeing the results yet. But then, because I didn't back up the truck and say, never mind, just kidding. I must have been fooling myself that I could do this. It all materialized. And like it was so interesting. I don't know if you saw it since you were on my YouTube. I don't know if you did you see my vision board video?
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
This is
I did.
insane that
I did.
I didn't realize this. We moved into a new house about a year ago, and I did not realize it until a few months after we were here. But everything on my vision board from early 2020 had come true. Every single thing. And I had looked at it like every day for a year, right? And then I forgot it existed.
Right.
And it's still mind blowing to me
Oh,
in my vision board. Oh my gosh. And just going back to that quantum leap did not know how to hold yet in 2023. I'm now doing it again. So these things that are meant for us, they don't leave us alone. They come back. And
because they're in
that's,
our blueprint. Is
yeah,
that why?
yes, that's exactly what it is. It's part of our soul. It's part of what we're here. We have these beautiful missions and they will not leave us alone. And that's such a blessing
But
sometimes.
how does that, when you say you got to hold that frequency or hold that what does that look like? How do you,
That's
like,
such a good
are
question.
you
Yeah,
saying your gratitudes? You're looking, like, what are you doing?
such a good question. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to ask ourselves this version of myself who's showing up in this way, how is this version of me showing up? So, is she showing up every day and making a YouTube video, making Instagram stories, sending an email to her email list? What is she showing up every day and doing? And what knowing about her identity does she have every day when she shows up and does this thing? Okay. And so for me, I know that I have a powerful mission. My mission is to help other creators that have powerful soul missions essentially embody the version of themselves that can actually go out and make money doing that. And I use all the tools in my toolkit. I use channeling, transmitting messages. I use the deep energy work that I do with people. And I also use the business skills that I have. So it's my job to go out there and act as if I'm already her. Not from a place of pretending to be someone I'm not. That is not the vibe at all. What it is it's connecting in. So like I get up and go, right? 2 a.m. I'm gonna make the YouTube video. I throw open my computer and here we go. Not anymore. I am intentional now. I spend a few minutes, I take a few breaths, I open up a quantum field and and I really set my intentions for who this is going to reach. And it's not about, I want this to reach the people that are going to pay me. It's about, I want these things to reach the people who are on a soul mission, who are going to benefit from this. That's what this is about. And when I show up in that energy every single day, even when I don't yet see results, eventually in divine timing, the results come. But what happens for most people is they set really big intentions. They're all excited. They are all in 100%. I'm doing it. Yes. And they show up for a week and they don't see the results. And they start in with the questions. And the questions are, what am I doing wrong? Am I not good enough? I knew I wouldn't be able to figure this out. I suck. So this starts running in the background. And instead of us staying in that powerful energy of this is what I'm called to create, so I'm going to show up and create it, whether I see the results or not, we start going into lack and doubt and insecurity. And there's nothing more repelling than lack and doubt and insecurity. And so it's really recognizing, sort of grounding ourselves. Most of us that are big creators with big soul missions, our vision is so big that we are just up in the trees all the time. Like we are
Yep.
touching the treetops, we are dreaming big, and we're not super grounded into physical reality and what that path actually looks like. And the truth is, we need to be both. We need to be like a tree. So reaching up to the sky, to the big dreams, to the big vision, but also grounded deep into the safety and security of the earth. And I really anchor into I am safe in the physical world. And from a place of groundedness, what I know to be true is that time is not real. We can do things much faster than we think we can, but we have to be willing to hold the trust when we don't yet see the results. Without, we can have the doubt. I have doubt. I have fear. I am not immune to that, but I'm also not afraid of the doubt and fear anymore. I'm very good friends with it and I love it. And I love it in a way that's like accepting. And I love you, Erin. I love all aspects of you, right? And so what I do is I say, I know that there's parts of me that are scared to continue to show up in this big energy. I know there's parts of me that say there's something wrong with me. I need to figure out how to fix it. I need to figure out how to make people like me more, right? But that's not what's true. And if I want to create something that's high frequency, the only frequency I can do that from is trust, which means I have to trust in my big vision more than I trust in the doubts and the fears within me. And that's essentially what holding the energy looks like. It's very, very grounded. It's recognizing that it's going to take however long it takes, that our mission isn't about, I need to make some money real quick so I can quit this job that I hate. That is lack frequency. It's coming from a place of need. It's not coming from trust. Instead, this mission's been placed on my heart for a reason. And so I'm going to show up and do it every day. Now, at the same time, also grounded. There might be skills that we have to learn. There might be things we don't know how to do yet. And so we want to continue to learn and grow as creators, but not from a place of I suck and I have to fix myself. From a place of I trust that even if I don't know how to do this, I can get good at it. Right? So it's
Right.
all coming from belief, and we're all capable of this. Like, believe me, Ashley, I would have been voted least likely to be having this conversation with you, to be like, I did not look, and that's part of the reason things blew up in my family, because who I had become was so different than my
Right.
extended family was used to. Right? Like they didn't, they thought this must be fake, this must not be real, this can't be embodied.
Wow.
We remember a girl with severe acne, zero self-esteem, that was like in a turtle shell all the time. That's what they remember. And so,
And an atheist.
yes, yes, that's funny. It's funny to hear you say that because, like, I just can't even, I have a hard time even remembering that part of my past
Huh.
identity. I'm like, oh, that's right. That did. So funny.
So wait, so when you say that about your family and you had built that business, that program, they were feeling that what you were putting out was not authentic?
I was talking about how much money that I was making and how much money that I had made over the previous 3 years. And because, like, again, least likely to succeed, there were people that I loved that thought that I was lying, that thought that
Oh, wow.
I was like a complete fraud
Huh.
lying on the internet. And one of the hardest things for me going on the internet was recognizing that there were going to be people that didn't like what I was saying. There were going to be people that would attack me, that would call me names. And that took me many, many, many years to fully, like, fully be okay with. And I think that that was just part of my journey to that.
Hmm.
It was like the deepest level of it. Like I was already used to at that point strangers on the internet, but to have somebody that I love deeply coming at me
Wow.
like that, it
You
was
know,
just part of the journey.
right. Yesterday, so my girls, you've watched them grow up and they do their pageant stuff. And little Presley, 16, is trying, she won. So she's trying, it's right now as a teen, they need to put stuff on social media. That's just kind of how it all, now they're not little anymore. They're not, now they're at the age where they have Instagram and it's part of that whole thing. Well, she's really stepping out and she's doing she's writing a book and every Friday she's doing a Dear Future Me um, video. Okay. I think she's done three. Well, yesterday, her friend, she calls me from the parking lot crying so hard that I thought something happened with like an accident. And I said, first of all, my whole body just went numb because I thought something happened. And I said, what is wrong? And she said, I got made fun of with my videos on Instagram. Mom, I told you, I can't put it on my personal account. I am going to be made fun of. I was bullied since I was in eighth grade. She has this whole story. Okay. So when you say that to me and I told her, I said, I have a podcast that I put out and a lot of people don't believe in things I talk about, but you got to own who you are. And that's who you are, honey. And maybe that person isn't in an alignment with who you are, but it's okay. We're all on our own journey. But it was such a devastation. But when I woke up this morning and I went to see her, and I said, you have to decide if you're going to let that really affect you, or if you can stop your story that you keep telling everyone. When I was in eighth grade in middle school, everyone bullied me for being this pageant girl. And now, Mom, I'm putting it on the Instagram. I'm going way out of my thing. And now I'm really in high school, and now it's really bad. And I said, you've changed your story. Don't talk about that story anymore because that's gone.
Mhm.
Be who you are now and own it and be so worthy and so self and love yourself and be proud of that. And that is what's going to shine. You're going to attract more of the people that think it's weird because you're still holding on to that story. Do you agree with me?
Oh, well, first of all, I just want to say your daughters are so very blessed to have you as a mother because your emotional intelligence is so impressive and that's a big deal. Like all of that, and then just shout out to all the moms that are listening that are going deep into being better for their children, being able to give their children more emotional intelligence that they had than they had when they were raised. Like, so I'm just like, I love it. I love it so much. You're such an incredible mother.
Oh,
And I saw her on your Instagram because you had reposted her, and all I saw was this beautiful soul shining so bright. So here's what I would say. I think you did a great job, Ashley. Like what I say because I have a lot of clients that are like, "Ugh." Right? Like this is a big thing. Visibility is a big
right.
thing that
It
I
is for me
teach
too.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how I talk about it is when we are doing exactly what you're saying, when we are shining bright from who we are now, we are literally like a light. We are so bright, and she is like I saw her. She was fabulous, just fabulous. Please tell her I said she's fabulous.
Oh,
um, but we're this light that shines so bright, and this is magnetic. It pulls to us all the souls that are meant to experience us, that we made soul contracts with before this life to help each other learn and grow and navigate Earth, and they are all just rushing to us. At the same time, shining that bright creates incredible pain within those who are not shining bright themselves.
right.
And they don't know how to hold themselves in that pain. And they feel that pain and they say, like I said, I've really practiced being okay in the lower frequencies of pain.
Right.
And so they feel that pain and they say, no one's ever taught me emotional intelligence. Nobody's ever taught me how to navigate this pain. I am uncomfortable because, like, any kind of emotional pain is meant to be a storm that passes us, that we feel, that we experience, and then we let go. This is just a storm that's passing through. That's how we're designed to operate. But so many souls just were not taught this as children and have not learned to navigate it as adults. And so instead of it passing through like a storm, it gets stuck in them.
Hmm.
And they think, if I give it to you, it'll leave me. And they try to give it to you, whoever the you is that's causing that. They're feeling the pain of disconnection, of not being the bright light that they really are. And it's their
Hmm.
soul trying to wake them and shake them. And so what's actually true is someone who's shining bright in their authenticity is being of deepest service to all souls, even those that are being repelled and overwhelmed by the pain of disconnection from being that bright light. So, like, it's, and that's something, easier said than done, you know.
Right. Right.
it's
Yeah.
still it's still a practice of sitting with the discomfort. For me, I tell it like it is 100% of the time, and sometimes people don't like that. Even sometimes people that love me will be like, that was a little bit too much for me, like, I need a minute. I need a minute
Okay.
to walk away. And what I within me is like, part of shining bright is really forgiving the parts of you that feel like they trigger others. So I had to do that right before our call with someone in my world that's feeling a little bit of pain right now. Part of it is I triggered that by being really laying the truth out in front of them in a loving way, but still. So there was a bit of a story running with inside of me as, oh, it's not nice to do that, right? And so I had to go forgive myself for being who I really am. And I did that. And I wrapped myself with forgiveness and love and reminded myself it's safe to shine bright. One of my favorite things to do is to open the throat energetically, just really wrapping it with love and moving out any times we have spoken words that have bound ourselves. So when any sort of a bind is created, when we say, I can't because, or it would be bad of me to do something like this, or I'm not the kind of person who does this, and it creates things that can't move through our throat in terms of our voice.
Hmm.
And so I just wrap it in love, and then I say the words, it is safe to shine bright. It is safe to take up space in the world. It is safe to be all of me. It is safe to be all of me. And that has helped me so much really embody shining bright.
Oh, I can't wait to share that with her. Thank you for sharing that. It's because I listened to our podcast in 2022 today. It was listening to me where I was then parenting, you know, and it's such a contrast. I was driving them to school. And it was so fascinating to realize that's only been 3 years ago, first of all. And to think of how quickly, this time goes and what we learn and the different phases, going to college for Paige and, starting high school since then, all these little things, but really being in that moment and watching them. But when they have as they get older, I'm saying this because your children, kindergarten and second grade,
Yeah, yeah, they're 6 and
gosh,
8.
6 and 8. They were 3 and 5 when we when we were
It just
talking.
goes so fast. It's
I know.
crazy.
And we were saying that too, but it's learning that they're learning their lessons now too, and they do have to fall and you have to be there to watch, and it's hard because we've been the moms that have always been there to, be there for them. And now as I watch them I mean, Paige she talks about going back to college. She has to move in this weekend. And it's this freshman year was so bad. She just kept talking about it being a fever dream. And she's like, Mom, just the thought of it. Now I'm like, go, you got to learn it again. Like now the whole difference of me sending her to college last year at this time, I was a wreck. And now it's like, okay, you need to, I see the reason you need to go. We're growing. So anyway, it's just fun. Okay, let's I want to talk about, we have a few more minutes, but I want to talk about how you see. I've been really like, I went to Bashar last year and we talked about like ET contact and where the world is going and how like 2025 to 2027, like the next, I mean really a year and a half. Like 2025 is almost over. But how do you see, what have you channeled, or what do you believe?
Okay, such a good question. So I think that we all bring forward the information like we're supposed to bring forward for the people that are meant to receive from us, right? So I think everyone's information is a little bit different. And I think that's as it's supposed to be because all the soul missions are so different. So for me, I downloaded a huge like trove of information. I think it was in 2022 around where society is going. And then I was guided. Now you know, now focus on your mission. So I'm gonna get to that trove of information, but first thing that really wants to come through around this though, and I always trust whatever wants to come through, whatever wild crazy thing wants to come through me. The first thing that wants to come through is um, we can get so sidetracked by these questions of like what what's going to happen next, what's going to happen next, what's going to happen next. Like we like the quantum field is in constant flow state, so nothing is actually locked in. We are creating it on a day-to-day basis and based on the entire collective's daily decisions. Where we are going can change, it can upgrade. And so I like to see things as they're continuously upgrading. We're continuously moving into more and more abundant reality. And that's really what I choose to like focus and create my energy on. And I think it's important because I used to spend a lot of time like asking these questions of like what's happening and where's everything going and what's going to be next. And now I understand that it's my job to have my blinders on.
Mm,
It's my job to show up every day and say, what am I called to do today? And to do that from a place of trust. So, all of that being said, I really see that we are in the fall of the matrix based reality. And I see the matrix as a huge control system that has controlled humanity and the earth for thousands of years. I actually see that we were all on earth. I mean, maybe some of us, but who was on earth when the matrix came in and was locked in? It was a very different reality. It was more like peaceful and very much like what we want to move into. Just there was not the war and the fighting that we see today. Like humans are actually a very heart-centered species. We are actually full of love and kindness. The war, the fighting, the anger, all of this is not actually coming from the human collective. It's actually been a layer that's been placed on top of us, and we are fighting to try to escape that layer. And so, what I see is when I was talking about those first planets that were created, what I've been shown is that because they were directly connected to God's source, they knew when God's source was going to end the experiment. And some of them went back to God's source, went back to the light, and some of them said no. But they also knew that if they disconnected themselves from the light, they would not be able to live. And so they had like a split second to make a decision. They knew all the other places that had already been created. They picked Earth. They essentially created a spaceship, came to Earth, dropped down from the sky, scared the crap out of all the humans, created a tremendous fear frequency on Earth. And that's like we see in all different kinds of ancient texts, chariots coming down from the sky. That was this moment. And I'm getting
mm.
so many like full body chills as I talk about this.
Gee.
So we've got chariots coming down from the sky, and humans are like, humans were in a very primitive reality, and they're like, what, and so terror moves through them. And that was all intentional because humans have, and I just liked it, this is just an analogy, but humans each naturally have 100 light points or points of energy within them. And these beings needed to siphon that energy as quickly as possible. And creating a fear response would do that because the humans' energy points would drop down to about two. And at that point, they created this energy grid to surround the Earth, which is the matrix that we've all heard of. And this energy grid was then set up to continuously siphon those energy points. So all of humanity for the last few thousand years has been walking around with two energy points or points of light within them as opposed to the 100 that they're supposed to operate with, which is why when people do have
Wow.
these existential or enlightenment experiences, they feel so different, so deeply connected, because in that moment or for that hour or two, those 100 light points are fully within them and they feel
Hmm.
their truth, they know their truth, right? And so us on path have already moved out of the two light point reality. You know, we might be walking around with 10, 20, 30 light points on a daily basis, but we're still, the matrix has essentially, the choices have already been made by the human collective. There's enough light workers open and doing the job of every day choosing to anchor light into the earth. And this has really been a concentrated effort. Like, this is such an interesting topic, and I'm going to put out a book on the whole thing that I channeled, hopefully by the end of the year, because it's so freaking cool.
Oh,
Um,
cool. I'm
it's
so
so
glad I
cool.
asked you.
Yeah. So anyway, the we have light workers, the people that are awake right now, and I see the light workers. I know there's that 144,000 number. I've been shown that we have far eclipsed that. It's an original 144, and once they were all activated, it would start spreading throughout the
Hmm.
entire collective. And we're already in that spreading stage of more and more people saying, "I wake up, I anchor in light. I wake up, I anchor in light." And so, but what I see is we were doing battle out in the open for hundreds of years. Those of us that are the ones here to change the world, whose sole mission is to take down the matrix. The soul mission's actually adjusted after the matrix came in. The soul mission's adjusted to take it down. So anyway, we finally got smart a few hundred years ago. Like, I've had so many past lives of being burned at the stake because I was being fully embodied as me. We were so powerful that we were fully embodied. We were being burned at the stake. We were being killed all over the place. And we finally got really, really smart and took a vow to go into hiding. And that's where you see books coming out over the last 300 years about the law of attraction and other things. You see that slowly starting to come out. We started writing, we started speaking in secret under anonymous names. We got very, very smart. And in this more chills and this lifetime, we are here to essentially recognize that if we took a vow of going into hiding, that this is the lifetime. We step out of that, we release that vow, and we step into our full power. And so, what I see is the continued chaos in the next few years of all of the darkness that the Matrix has created rising up to the surface to be seen. And I think the most important and embodied choice that we can make every day is not to give our attention, because our attention is our light points, not give it to the fear frequency, but instead focus on, what am I here to do today? What am I here to create? What can I do that assists the collective today? And that might be simply meditating or holding light within your body, and that's enough, right? Some people are going to have bigger callings, some people it's just going to be about doing the work themselves. But that's what, like, the chaos is, we're not through it. It's only going to get louder and crazier, but at the same time, when we are anchored into a frequency of safety and knowing, the storm can rage all around us and we're fine. And it's
Right.
no big deal. And so it really is about, like, what we're giving our attention to, because we're going to have people that have very, very difficult experiences over the next few years. And we're going to have a tremendous amount of souls really stepping into next levels of their purpose and their power. And I think everybody listening, just choosing or reinforcing the choice you've already made, that I'm the one that steps up, I'm the one that shines bright, I'm the one that thrives over the next few years.
Yeah, when you talk about God and the soul earlier and how God is like, doesn't need anything. It doesn't need to create. It has everything. And that's the rest part. That's the part that of you that needs to do nothing and, be, right? And it's so hard. But you didn't give me like it's okay now, Ashley, but to I've had that message, I've had healings, I've had sessions with people, and they've said the one thing that you need to do is be okay with doing nothing. And I've had that in my mind so much lately because it's been coming up. But when you talked about that part of God and how important that is to nurture that part of you, and I want that for people to understand that because we live in a world where we think we have to go and do and, do all these things. And, I look at my daughters, like I look at how they go to school and what they're learning and like, it's just like, I want you to just, be you and just be God, be that energy of just being, right?
I think it's so important. Like that's every time I walk barefoot in the grass every morning, every single, I don't have to do anything else. If I just have my attention on the feel of the grass in my toes, on the tree branches, the leaves on the trees fluttering in the wind, I'm anchoring light
Hmm.
in that moment, right? And to me, I see most of us have a dual mission, and one part of that mission is anchoring the light in. And the more we're just being, the more we're doing that, and that's been a big thing for me too, Ashley. I had to really repair energetically my nervous system to hold me, and it is safe to be and not be doing all the time. And it was really a couple of year healing process for me personally to move out of that hurry, 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 rush, 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 do energy and come into it's safe for me to just sit here and do nothing right now
Right?
because it's just so deeply ingrained in us.
Right. Let's end this by telling people, because I get your emails, so I know you're all these amazing things that you're offering. Share that, share everyone how they can get a hold of you and maybe what is in your do you think of what's coming next or are you just kind of really like soaking up right now, like what you've created?
Um, I really create in the flow state every single day. I do my best to spend time in that now present moment creation space. So I'm not somebody who does a lot of planning in advance. I will say, I created the most incredible energy activation ever. It's insanely not like only come get this thing if you want to wake up in a new reality and a new identity and a new higher version of you because it's
Oh,
serious business. I recorded it on a planetary alignment that took place earlier this year. Interestingly, Ashley, we are recording the day before a sixth planetary alignment. So tomorrow, energetically, and we're already in it, is just going to be incredible.
oh, fun.
Um, but I recorded it on a planetary alignment, and and the feedback I got from everybody that was there was like, this was the best experience of my life. And I was guided recently. It was is part of a paid program. I was guided recently, make this free, give it to everyone. So erinwerley.com/divine. So
Oh,
ERINWERLEY/divine. It is a must listen.
oh,
That's what I would say.
wow.
Yes.
I love it. And what about the Recode and the Quantum Light, all those programs?
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, so Quantum Lightwork Academy is a year-long program with me if you want to become the most powerful psychic healer, one of the most powerful psychic healers on the planet. Spend a year with me and you will never be the same. And then I also now I am creating Leap Year, which is a year-long business experience. Recode is for business owners that are already had some success and they want to pivot their message to what happens so often for business owners is they create something that's deeply, deeply aligned. But as they continue on their journey, as they do the deep inner work, the business does not up level at the same rate that they did. So even though it's successful, it starts to feel heavy. Not because there's anything wrong with the business, but because something needs to pivot, something needs to change. So I help successful business owners pivot into their business that fully matches who they are in the now moment. I help new business owners create a business that feels fully aligned and makes lots of money. One of my most favorite things to teach is sales. I love high frequency selling. And I think the reason I love it so much is I'm so repelled by sleazy low frequency selling. And
Right.
one of my big things here is to help people sell their creations from a place of deep love and deep trust. So, yeah, I am so excited about all of the containers that I offer, and I would love to have people come join me in them.
Oh, I love it. I just love you and love everything that you do and know that we're so connected. And I just love this time together again. Thank you.
I had an amazing time, Ashley. You are incredible, and I am honored to walk with you in this way.
Oh, thank you, Erin. Until next time.